Power has never truly belonged to truth. Power belongs to those who seize control of perception. Think about your own life. When was the last time raw facts bent you to obedience? Rarely. Facts whisper, but framing commands. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. He knew perception wasn't just part of power. It was the battlefield itself. Win perception, and you win obedience. And today I'm not just telling you about it. I'm handing you the 7 iron laws of framing. 7 weapons forged in the fire of history, sharpened by rulers, tyrants, and visionaries, and now placed in your hands. By the end, you'll know how to make others fear, obey, and follow you. Not because they're forced to, but because they'll believe they have no other choice. So I'll ask you, do you want to simply persuade, or do you want to dominate? Because these laws won't turn you into a speaker. They'll make you a commander of perception itself. Weak men chase dreams like children chasing butterflies, fluttering after fantasies, desperate, distracted, and doomed. Pathetic. A dream may sparkle in the distance, but it never claws at the soul. Loss, however, loss cuts deep. It leaves scars. It doesn't just sting, it paralyzes. It makes men crawl. Picture this. You stumble upon $100 on the street. You grin. You feel lucky. And within a week, you've forgotten it ever happened. But now imagine you lose $100 from your wallet. That violation sits in your chest like a stone. It gnaws at you for days. You replay it in your mind, again and again. You curse your carelessness. That is the hierarchy of human nature. Fear devours hope, and loss dominates gain. Look at the workplace. CEOs who stand before their armies and dangle promises of riches. If this works, we'll make millions. Bore their people into apathy. The office hums with mediocrity. No one bleeds for a maybe, but the leader who thunders, if this fails, we are ruined. If you falter, everything we've built will be ash, and your families will suffer. That leader transforms drones into zealots. Suddenly the lazy become tireless. The selfish become united. The clock stops mattering. Why? Because survival always outranks success. Politicians wield this with surgical cruelty. They don't sell visions of paradise. They don't seduce you with heaven. They terrify you with apocalypse. They never whisper, "Vote for me and life will be beautiful." They roar, "Vote for me, or the enemy will destroy everything you hold dear." They don't promise freedom. They dangle the terror of terrorism. They don't promise wealth. They warn of collapse, starvation, chaos. They know what Machiavelli knew. Men don't move toward gain. They flee from ruin. And here is the brutal truth. If you are selling hope, you are begging. But if you are selling nightmares, you are commanding. Machiavelli saw this clearly. In The Prince, he declared, "What is at stake is survival. Anything extra is luxury." He knew men act not to rise, but to avoid falling. He would never waste his time offering luxuries. He would hammer into the minds of his subjects the terror of loss. He would frame every decision as life or death. And he would whisper in their ears, "Inaction is suicide." So how do you wield this? Frame every choice as protection against disaster. Make hesitation look fatal. Make standing still look suicidal. Place yourself not as the bringer of gifts, but as the fortress, the shield, the last wall between them and annihilation. A fitness coach doesn't say, "Join me and gain abs." He sneers, "Stay soft, and you'll shave 10 years off your life." An entrepreneur doesn't beg, "Invest, and maybe you'll profit." He warns, "Fail to invest, and you will be left behind forever while others grow rich." A leader doesn't say, Follow me, and you may win. He commands, without me, you will be destroyed. Train yourself to despise comfort. See comfort as poison. Teach your mind that stagnation is death, that hesitation is suicide. You will move faster, strike harder, and outlast softer men. Cast yourself as the last refuge from ruin. Make others believe that without you they will collapse into chaos. And when they accept this frame, they will not question you. They will not resist you. They will clutch you like drowning men clutch driftwood, because in their minds, you are survival itself. Here is your first and most primal law of framing. Make them flee ruin.
Hey guys, we're Strategy, based in Abu Dhabi. We use AI tools to make these concepts come to life, but it's our amazing team who goes deep, breaking down powerful philosophical ideas and showing how they really apply in everyday life. We hope you enjoyed today's content.
And fools believe value is absolute. They think worth is some sacred truth, carved in stone. Cowards accept the comparisons handed to them. They walk into the duel blindfolded, bound, and gagged, already defeated before the first strike. But nothing is judged alone. Not beauty, not wealth, not power. Everything is weighed against something else. A king is mighty only because peasants kneel beneath him. A diamond dazzles only because coal sits in the dirt. And here is the secret. Whoever controls the comparison controls the choice. $1,000 looks obscene until you place it beside $5,000. Suddenly it feels like a bargain. A tyrant drenched in blood looks merciful. If the alternative is wholesale slaughter, your actions, your offers, your very identity mean nothing in isolation. They mean everything in contrast. Machiavelli knew this well. He taught rulers to pamper or annihilate, nothing in between. Why? Because mercy shines only when placed beside the shadow of cruelty. A prince who can annihilate but refrains is hailed as godlike. A prince who shows mild cruelty looks like a sadist. The standard isn't fixed, the standard is manufactured, and if you allow others to set the anchor, you are already their prisoner. They will drag your value into their arena, chain you to their comparisons, and slaughter you on ground they chose. But if you set the extremes, suddenly your cruelty becomes compassion, your greed becomes prudence, your mediocrity becomes genius. So how do you wield this? You engineer the battlefield of choice, always provide a decoy, offer 3 options. One bloated monstrosity no one wants, one stripped-down shell that looks pathetic, and the one you truly desire them to choose. They will grab the middle and thank you, believing it was their idea. In politics, you stand between total collapse and order. Suddenly, you are salvation. In business, you place your offer between highway robbery and worthless junk. Suddenly, your price looks like wisdom. In war, you present yourself between massacre and tyranny. Suddenly, you look like mercy itself. Discipline yourself to learn to reframe your weaknesses against worse alternatives. You are not late. You are deliberate. You are not cruel. You are disciplined. You are not cautious. You are strategic. Against the right foil, even your flaws become strengths. Command others by dictate the comparisons others use. Choke them until the only choices left are the ones you allow. Engineer the illusion of freedom, and men will crawl to you, convinced they chose on their own. Here is your second law of framing. Dictate the comparison. Dictate the choice. Mediocre men vomit out their whole truth. They believe exposure makes them noble. They confuse transparency with strength. Pathetic. Honesty is not strength. Honesty is suicide. Reality is chaos. Too vast, too complex, too overwhelming for any mortal to grasp. And men weak as they are, cannot hold the whole picture. They see only what you force their eyes to fix upon. This is the secret. What you spotlight lives. What you starve dies. Look at corporations. They trumpet 50,000 new users this quarter. They parade it in headlines and speeches. Yet in the shadows, profits rot, debts fester, corruption spreads. But no one looks, no one dares. The spotlight blinds them. The illusion becomes the truth. Look at politics. Leaders shout endlessly about jobs created, about progress achieved. Meanwhile, behind the curtain, the treasury bleeds, promises collapse, empires decay. Yet the crowd cheers, hypnotized. The parade drowns the skeletons, and the masses, they are sheep, fools who will believe whatever shines brightest, because spectacle is nourishment to their empty minds. Truth, when left unlit, withers into nothing. Machiavelli understood this with cruel precision. Cesare Borgia butchered his minister, De Orco, a man hated for his cruelty. But Borgia didn't hide the act. He staged it. He placed the corpse in the town square, beside a bloody knife and a wooden block. The people did not see Borgia's ruthlessness. They saw justice. They saw order. His sins drowned in the spectacle he created. His spotlight turned brutality into relief. This is the law. Do not delude yourself that truth will save you. Truth wins nothing. Spectacle wins everything. So what must you do? Trumpet your victories until they eclipse every failure? Blast them so loudly, so relentlessly, that the echoes erase all else. Bury your flaws beneath scapegoats, distractions, or silence. Let others burn while you shine. Let them drown while your name echoes. Discipline yourself to discipline your own mind, to spotlight your strengths, not your doubts. Starve your weaknesses until even you forget them. Teach yourself that your failures are shadows, and shadows do not matter unless you grant them light. Command others by blind the world with chosen lights. Flood their vision until they mistake your shadow for salvation. If they see only what you allow, then their perception is yours. And perception, as you already know, is power. Here is your third law of framing. Blind them with spotlight. The weak leaders cling to threats alone. They bark orders. They brandish punishment. They enslave bodies. But they never win hearts. The moment their grip loosens, they are abandoned. Fools cling to promises alone. They hand out hope like cheap candy. Their words sparkle for a day, then rot into nothing. They inspire briefly, then are discarded like broken toys. The strong wield both, fear and hope, terror and reward. Together they form shackles no man can escape. Fear binds obedience. Hope binds devotion. Together they forge chains unbreakable. Look at taxes. Call them robbery, and men riot in the streets. Call them an investment in the future, and the very same men smile while handing over their wealth. Same act, different frame. One sparks rebellion, the other sparks pride. Machiavelli warned, be feared, but never hated. Strike with terror, yes, but always cloak it in staged mercy. Cesare Borgia understood this perfectly. He butchered when he had to. He executed without hesitation. But then he pardoned, gifted, and rewarded. And the people remembered not the slaughter, but the order he restored. The fear kept them obedient. The hope made them grateful. This is your path. Threaten your enemies with annihilation. Inspire your allies with visions of glory. Strike with one hand, bless with the other. Let thunder terrify, and let silk soothe. Only then will men chain themselves to you willingly. Discipline yourself. Let fear of failure drive you harder than comfort ever could. Let visions of greatness pull you forward when fear alone cannot. Harness both forces within, and you will never stall, never rest, never soften. Command others. Weave terror and hope into the very air they breathe. Promise them light, but only after you've shown them the dark. Keep them trembling at your wrath, yet longing for your favor. Their bodies will obey. Their souls will worship. Here is your fourth law of framing. Wrap fear in hope. The ignorant let others name them. They accept insults like branding irons. They wear the enemy's words as chains, dragging them through life like broken animals. They shuffle in cages built not of steel, but of vocabulary. Pathetic. To live under another man's language is to live already conquered. Power knows better. Power knows the truth. Words do not describe reality. They create it. Call it spying, and it reeks of betrayal, treachery, intrusion. Call it national security, and suddenly it becomes noble, protective, a duty. Call it layoffs, and it stinks of cruelty, betrayal, and greed. Rename it strategic realignment, and shareholders cheer like trained dogs. Same fact, different word, entirely new reality. Language does not report, language reshapes. Whoever controls the label controls the battlefield. Machiavelli wielded this weapon like a blade dipped in poison. He never excused cruelty, he baptized it. He renamed it virtue, greatness of spirit, strength of character, the steel spine of rulers. He reframed treachery as strategy. He renamed brutality as order. He didn't merely defend rulers drowning in blood, he sanctified them. Through language, he transformed butchery into necessity, turning slaughter into legitimacy. He proved that words are stronger than swords, because swords kill men, but words kill truth. This is your task. Rebrand yourself. When they call you reckless, sneer and call yourself bold. When they spit manipulative, cloak it in the word strategic. When they hiss obsessive, elevate it into relentless. Every insult hurled at you can be reforged into armor. Every label can be twisted into a crown. Let them throw words at you. By the time you're done, their attacks will be the foundation of your glory. Discipline yourself. Never accept the enemy's dictionary. Refuse their definitions. Rewrite your flaws until they serve you. Do not call it weakness, call it fuel. Do not call it arrogance, call it vision. Do not call it stubbornness, call it resolve. You are the first author of your identity, and the first battlefield is not land, not wealth, not weapons. It is the language in your own mind. Master that tongue, and you are already halfway to victory. Command the world. Rename the ground before your enemies take a single step onto it. If you call your brutality justice, they cannot resist without branding themselves as unjust. If you call your project freedom, they cannot oppose without appearing tyrannical. You suffocate them in your vocabulary, leaving them no words with which to fight. You dictate the labels. They choke, drown, and die within them. Here is the iron maxim: control the words, and you control the world. Here is your fifth law of framing: rename reality, seize the world. The pathetic cling to certainty. They whimper for guarantees like infants reaching for milk. They need stability, order, and promises that nothing will collapse. They are prisoners of predictability. Others fling themselves into chaos. They gamble everything, mistaking recklessness for bravery. They drown in storms they cannot steer, chasing risk until it devours them. They too are prisoners, slaves to unpredictability. Both are weak. Both are slaves. The ruler, however, commands both. He bends certainty and chaos into weapons. He soothes with order. He hooks with suspense. He calms when men panic. He shakes when they grow too comfortable. He alone dictates the rhythm of stability and storm. He alone moves the pendulum. Look at the marketplace. Casinos, addict with chaos. Every roll of the dice, every spin of the wheel drips suspense into men's veins. They bleed themselves dry, enslaved by maybe. Insurance companies enslave with the opposite. Certainty, a guarantee of protection, safety, peace. Two opposite forces, both irresistible, both profitable, both designed to keep men dependent. Look at politics. Leaders thunder doom, war, collapse, famine, enemies at the gates. The people tremble. Then the same leaders whisper promises of peace, stability, and salvation. The crowd exhales. The pendulum swings again, suspense to hook them, certainty to pacify them. The cycle never ends, because dependency never ends. Machiavelli understood this duality. He advised princes to appear steadfast, unshakable, even if it was a lie. Because men crave the illusion of certainty. They need to believe their leader is granite, even if the ground is crumbling. But Cesare Borgia mastered the other side. He thrived in chaos. He struck unpredictably when no one expected it. His boldness amid storms made him terrifying. His unpredictability was a weapon sharper than steel. This is the lesson: the weak pick one, the strong master both. So what must you do? Discipline yourself. Master your nerves until you thrive in both comfort and catastrophe. Certainty must never make you complacent. Chaos must never make you panic. If you can bend both within yourself, then no storm can shake you. No calm can soften you. You will move when others freeze, and pause when others self-destruct. Command others. Engineer the pendulum yourself. When you want obedience, promise certainty, safety, stability, protection. When you want frenzy, action, and blind loyalty, unleash chaos, suspense, risk, and fear. Keep them swinging, never settled. Let them believe that only you can restore calm after chaos, and only you can ignite chaos after calm. You become the hand on the wheel of their emotions. Without you, they are lost. With you, they cannot breathe without your command. Here is your sixth law of framing. To rule men, you must master both their comfort and their chaos. Only fools believe facts endure. They cling to numbers and data like children clinging to toys, thinking reality will protect them. But facts are fragile. They vanish like footprints in sand, erased by the next wave. Stories, however, stories carve themselves into stone. Stories live in memory long after truth has rotted. Stories are immortality. Look at war. A statistic reads, 10,000 dead. Shocking for a moment, then forgotten by the next headline. But tell the story of one soldier dying in the mud, of one father losing his family, of one tyrant rising through betrayal, and memory clings to it. The number dies. The story becomes eternal. History forgets the masses. It remembers only the names burned into legend: Alexander, Caesar, Napoleon, Churchill, Hitler. Millions perished under their shadows, but the masses were erased. The myth remained. These men did not just live. They became myths towering over centuries. Machiavelli understood this. He wrote Cesare Borgia into history not as a butcher drenched in blood, but as a tragic hero betrayed by fortune. Cruelty became brilliance. Treachery became strategy. Infamy became immortality. Machiavelli proved that the pen is not just mightier than the sword. It is the sword that survives the grave. Your duty is the same. You must become myth. Facts about you are irrelevant. They will be forgotten, twisted, or erased. But your story, that is what men will remember. So how do you seize this weapon? Wrap every fact in narrative. Cast yourself as the hero. Cast your rival as the villain. Weave conflict, struggle, and triumph into everything you touch. Never let an event stand naked. Cloak it in legend. Repeat your story until even your enemies are forced to tell it in your words. Discipline yourself. Write your own story until even you believe it. Turn your failures into sacrifices, your mistakes into stepping stones, your scars into symbols of destiny. Speak your legend until it echoes in your own mind louder than truth. If you cannot mythologize yourself, you will be forgotten. Command others. Hammer your story into them relentlessly. Tell it, repeat it, engrave it, until they cannot imagine the world without your presence, until they repeat your narrative for you, spreading it like scripture, until their tongues become your army, carrying your myth further than any sword ever could. He who tells the story rules the memory, and memory is power. Here is your seventh and final law of framing. Forge legends, erase facts.
Thanks for spending time with us. If this sparked a new way of thinking, hit like and subscribe to keep the ideas flowing. And don't forget, check the description for the links to the original books and resources we used today. We'll see you in the next one.